And I was like, you know what? I really don't want Matt right now. I don't even really want God, but I do want his gifts. I want his peace. I want his joy. So, God, this is not even for 100% pure motivations, but I decided as I drove home in a snowstorm from that moment, I was like, okay, I don't know how God's going to do it, but I'm starting with following his gifts, submitting to him, and then, God, let's just see if you can fix this marriage.
A few months ago, I read Laurie and Matt Krieg's book, An Impossible Marriage, and I really liked their story. It's a story about this couple and how they've navigated the many challenges that come from being in a mixed orientation marriage. I was inspired by what she said, and I wanted to invite Laurie on my podcast to share her story and her experience. Now, I understand that the topic of same-sex attraction and building a marriage are difficult topics, and there's a lot I do not know or pretend to even begin to understand. But I do know that God loves all of his children, and that there is much about God's plan that I just don't understand. But I have faith that he is all-knowing, perfectly wise, perfectly understanding, and just, and I trust that he isn't surprised at all about all the things that we think or do or don't understand. I also have faith that God knows what he's doing, regardless of the challenges we face on a micro or macro scale. In bringing up the topic of mixed orientation marriages, I also don't want to minimize the real struggles people face, especially those of my gay friends and their family members. In this episode, you'll hear Laurie's insights and perspectives based on her own experience. And yet, even if your choices are different than Laurie's, or same-sex attraction is not part of your marriage story, I still think Laurie and Matt's experience has such valuable lessons in it to teach us how to face situations in our marriage that are really hard or sometimes feel nearly impossible. Also, a little trigger warning, Laurie mentions briefly her experience being sexually abused as a child. Her experience isn't general advice for everyone in a similar circumstance, such as, saying those with same-sex attraction are wrong if they don't choose to marry. I don't believe in taking that general approach. I think it's naive, insensitive, and dismisses the reality of the complexity of life, especially the complexity of sexual attraction and desire, and the sacred moral agency that God sacrificed so much to preserve for each of us. The part of her message that did resonate with me, though, is that if you think about it, every marriage faces obstacles that seem impossible and can serve to grow and stretch your faith if you let it. Your challenges could be financial, being married to a neurodivergent spouse, or struggles with children, health concerns, or serious sexual struggles, or aging parents, or never feeling good enough. And the list goes on and on and on. But just because you have challenges doesn't mean you're doomed. Life is meant to be lived, not avoided. Challenges can serve to give us experience, to aid in our development so that we're more compassionate and understanding and more humble, and how to grow and stretch who we are if we let it. There is room for hope and good days ahead for everyone, and that's the message I hope you take away from this episode. Laurie, what a pleasure it is to have you on the Get Your Marriage On podcast this morning. How are you?
I'm doing so great. Thanks so much for having me.
I've read your book, and it was really inspiring. You wrote it with your husband.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be like a fun process in and of itself, I'm sure. And I found it inspiring. And I wanted you to come on the podcast to share your story and inspire my listeners too. Your book starts off with this question: what do I want? Can you tell me the story behind that, what led to that, and what that means? What do I want?
Totally. The question, what do I want, was really related to what do I want in my marriage and what do I want for my life? And I was in a place, we were 7 years married, which I don't know what it is about 7 years, but many of us.
I know, right?
That's when it gets real for many of us. But I packed that question into my suitcase, not to leave yet, ?
Leave the marriage, meaning?
Leave the marriage,
right.
But to go on a silent retreat and really ask the Lord, what do I want? Because before Matt and my husband Matt, got married, he knew, I experienced attractions toward the same sex. When I met Matt, I was actually in a secret same-sex relationship with another woman. I knew theologically it was not God's design, but it felt right. It felt like it scratched the itch of my heart, these needs to be seen and known and loved. And that jacked with my brain, my theology, until I met someone who was technically my therapist, but she knew the heart of any forms of sexual brokenness. And the heart of those, along with really any brokenness, but we'll hone in on sexual brokenness, is we want to be seen and known and loved in the ways that we want. But God knows the best ways, which is not in a perfect marriage, but it's in Him. And marriage can reflect Him. Can be a part of the ways He meets those needs, but it's really in Him. And so I fell in love with Jesus, and through this relationship with this therapist, she helped me to find what we
A
might
spiritual basis, I guess.
a spiritual basis, or what Thomas Chalmers, the 18th century Scottish preacher, said, the expulsive power of a new affection. When we find a deeper love, it can expel other love. So I still experience attractions toward the same sex when I met Matt. But it was this, I love Jesus, and Matt was someone to whom I was attracted, but it was a heart attraction first that grew into a physical attraction. So I wasn't attracted to all men. I didn't go from gay to straight. I don't even really use those words to describe myself. I just say I love Jesus and I'm married to Matt, and if I struggle with lust, it's toward women. But I love my husband, Matt. We were married for 7 years, but when we were 7 years married, suppressed childhood trauma resurfaced.
Double whammy.
Double whammy. And they magnetized and they produced this question of, what do you want? Because all of a sudden I had this trauma triggering. So even though Matt was not my perpetrator, he was male like my perpetrator, and he reminded me of that trauma. And so I was like, these attractions I was happily surrendering to Jesus. I was like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
This
What a
is hard.
struggle. Yes.
And
Holy
so
smokes.
I packed that question into my suitcase, went on this silent retreat, journaled it to the Lord. And He really, it's like in the Bible when God just, it's like, it's not angry God. It's like, I like to call Him stern Jesus. Like where He's
Yeah.
encountering you. And
Right.
He's like, what will that actually give you? And I like told him, I'm like, this fantasy in my head of leaving Matt and finding a wife, and Matt becomes my best friend. There's this script written right now for women and men who are not default attracted toward the gender of their spouse, their opposite sex spouse. There's such this fantasy lie that the enemy and the world is writing that's like, it's going to be so much better.
And easier.
And easier.
Because this is your sexual orientation, you have an automatic
get out of jail
pass.
card.
Yeah, get out of jail card. Right.
But what really I was confronted with was the book of Jude that I had read in my Bible reading that day as I was journaling back and forth. And you can read all about this in our book, An Impossible Marriage. It's the first chapter I talk about this, but it says, did you not know, this is the book of Jude, that in the last times there will be people, scoffers, who follow their own ungodly desires. These are the people who divide you, who follow what is natural to them because they do not have God's Spirit in them. And I was like, this feels natural to me.
Yeah.
The world says that because this feels natural to you, you should follow it, and this is going to make all your dreams come true. But just because it's natural, is it natural because of fall, or is it natural because of God's desires in you? And I was like, well, who cares? Who cares? What if I follow this because this is what I want? What if I lose God's Spirit? Who cares? What's it even give me? And it's the most bizarre thing, which sounds real out there. But in that moment, I'm not kidding. As I ask, what does your Spirit even give me, God? Is I felt like every bit of joy and happiness and peace that was inside of me, even in the midst of this wrestling, just evaporated. And I was so cold and so lonely, and like I was a black hole of emptiness, just gasping for something or someone to hold on to. And like after the 2 seconds was done, I was like, oh my goodness. Like, God, what was that? It's like, that was insane.
Yeah.
But I truly feel like God allowed me to experience a micro taste of life devoid of Him. People who are not following God experience something called common grace. There is this sweetness that God gives to everyone. But if we follow our desires to the other side of eternity,
Yeah, yeah.
That is what we will experience, is a
Right.
life devoid of God. And I was like, you know what? I really don't want Matt right now. I don't even really want God, but I do want his gifts. I want his peace. I want his joy. So, God, this is not even for 100% pure motivations, but I decided as I drove home in a snowstorm from that moment, I was like, okay, I don't know how God's going to do it, but I'm starting with following his gifts, submitting to him, and then, God, let's just see if you can fix this marriage.
Wow. At that point, you're probably like, this is an impossible marriage.
Yeah,
This is
dude.
impossible.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have a mixed orientation marriage,
Yeah.
and on top of that, childhood trauma,
Yeah.
sexual abuse,
Yeah.
and Matt has had his own challenges too.
Yeah.
Pornography use, for example,
Yeah.
at, or a history of that, and you add children, mortgage, life of responsibilities. It feels impossible, and it'd be so easy from the outside in to say, why why are you still doing this?
Yeah.
You're setting yourself up for something impossible.
Yeah.
But I love how you say something, and can you elaborate on this a little bit more? If you really look at it, isn't every marriage impossible?
So from that point, I go home. I tell Matt what I've been wrestling through in my mind, like thinking of leaving. He didn't even know I had been telling him. And I dove into the theology of marriage, which is where your answer will come in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And because I picked up many marriage books and they joke a lot about how dumb the other gender is, how what a funny, hilarious mess that God puts two people are so different, but then sex makes you want to put a ring on it, and then you hate each other, and ha ha ha, it's a covenant. Like truly,
It's a little
there
cynical, isn't it? Uh-huh.
it's cynical. And for someone like me whose default attractions are toward the same sex, like you are not helping me at all.
No.
Like, you're actually adding fuel to my argument. Like, yeah, why would you marry someone of the opposite sex? It's a big cosmic joke. So I'm just begging you all to please stop doing that.
Yeah.
But I was asking a question as I read some of these marriage books and chucked a lot of them across the room. So I was like, why did you put two different things together? Is it a
Mhm.
big cosmic joke or a cosmic punishment that you really just want to make us sanctified? Because I can get sanctified elsewhere. Thank you very much.
Right.
There's other ways.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so I was reading Francis and Lisa Chan's book, You and Me Forever, which is basically the gospel through the lens of marriage, which that's what marriage is. And then
Mhm.
with some like advice in between. And it just struck me is that, wait a minute. I was reading Ephesians 5:31 and 32, which I had heard 1,000 times at weddings. For this reason, man shall leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. This is a profound mystery. I'm talking about not men and women. It's such a mystery that God has men and women fall in love. Jeez. No, the profound mystery is Christ in the church. There's something to male-female marriage that makes
Mhm.
us see God's heart for us. What is that thing we see? The entire Bible, Christopher West says, in paraphrasing Pope John Paul II, the entire Bible could be summed up in 5 words. God wants to marry us. We, when husbands and wives, if God calls us to marriage, die to ourselves to be one with our spouse, even though they're, yes, kind of different from us. That's why we joke.
Uh-huh.
We're showing our kids and our neighbors and strangers in the grocery store a small picture of how Jesus, who is far above every ruler and power and authority, not only in this life, but in the life to come, it says in Ephesians 1, how he died to be one with dusty old Adam us. He
Uh-huh.
wants to marry us. So how is every marriage impossible? You want the union. You want your marriage to show the world a picture of God's love for them? Tell me that's easy.
Right. Not at all. But it's by being committed to that covenant that facilitates our spiritual growth and development. So we get a glimpse
Yes.
of what it's like, what God is like. We get to experience godliness through our marriages, or through our commitment to our marriages, I should say.
Yep. And they feel God's love through you. You feel God's love through them. Your kids experience the sweetness.
Hmm.
Your neighbors see it. It really is bananas.
That is so good. Then what happens next with you and Matt?
Mhm. So the theology was the engine to put me into therapy.
Okay, because you resisted it before, I assume.
I'll just be honest with you. A lot of therapists, you sit down and you have the box of struggles that I have and that our marriage has.
Uh-huh.
You are either going to get the get out of marriage free card. Oh,
Uh-huh.
well, thumbs up. Or they're going to try and make me straight. I'm going to be the cause of every problem because
Right. It's all your fault. Uh-huh.
Matt's problems are normal. They're every man's battle. You must be the problem. And so
Uh-huh.
we had like a list of like, if they do these things, we're walking out.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Uh-huh.
which was actually very kind of Matt to be like, I will defend you. You are not the bad guy. This is very
Yeah.
hard. I know I'm at
That's
fault. How do we do this?
that's really mature of him, because I could see in a different situation, a different person
Yes.
would he wouldn't take that stance.
No, he's so humble and loving. And that honestly, I'm sure was another huge percent of why we're on this side of the conversation.
Mhm.
So we go to therapy, and really effective therapists are so good at getting below the surface, below, like, give me a break. If I hear one more communication strategy, I'm going to go my eyes out. Like, I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
Don't
I
tell
agree
me
with you 100%.
effective. Yeah, let's fix the Band-Aid. Let's Band-Aid it,
Uh-huh.
and that lasts
Right,
another
right.
50
Even
years.
ChatGPT can help you with communication strategies.
Exactly.
You don't need to
So,
pay
no.
100, 200, 300 bucks an hour for that.
No. So I love you. I'm just not gonna, you're not gonna be my therapist. They helped us find the little boy inside of Matt and the little girl inside of me. And he really actually focused on Matt in the beginning, which was really good. That was really
Mhm.
helpful because Matt was in that humble posture and ready to go, where I was like, I'm just going to see if I can trust you, jerk. I already hate you from the beginning. Not really, but I was like, I just was defensive. I shouldn't have
You're
been.
yeah,
My
and you're
heart was.
tentative.
I was
Yeah,
tentative. I was hurting. And so it was actually such, again, sweet modeling of Matt.
yeah.
But it helped actually grow me to hear Matt's stories of rejection and how he felt like the little boy on the stairs. He would hide, he'd walk away from his family during dinner just to see if anyone would notice him and come after him and find him as he sat on the stairs at 5, 6 years old.
Mhm.
And for me, so here I am. I'm like, all right, fine, God, I'm in with you. Fine, I get your theology.
Uh-huh.
This last piece was tenderizing my heart toward Matt, not with
Mm.
any goals, not so then you guys can have sex and everything can be perfect. It was just, can we figure something better than it is? And I found Matt in that space sitting on the stairs, and I still think of it. We're now year 16 in our marriage, of just how can I come alongside him, go find him on the stairs, feeling lost and forgotten, and just sit by him.
Mhm.
It's so sweet. Like that that marriage as friendship,
Yes.
marriage as protector of your spouse's intimate pain.
Mhm.
Whoo, that's powerful.
Yeah. Wow. So you, got lucky, or maybe that's lucky is probably not the word, but you
Yeah.
found fantastic help to help you through this. And did it go the other direction too? Did
Yeah.
Matt find the the little Laurie, the little girl version of
Mhm.
Laurie too, and
Yeah.
check that?
He did, and you hear us write about it in the book too. We write about Matt on the stairs, and then for me, Matt actually helped me later through like a listening prayer kind of IFS exercise of
Uh-huh.
even working through some of the trauma, which I don't necessarily recommend. Matt is a licensed mental health therapist. He still should not be my therapist. But what I would recommend is praying together with your spouse, even into places of deep pain and shame, and inviting Jesus there. Like,
Yes.
God is real and like he's beyond time. And so just having him show up, and maybe he'll show up through, okay, he led us to read Psalm 34 over you or whatever. But Matt did a prayer exercise with me that was some months after that therapy intense time. And it was
Uh-huh.
very helpful to have him, for me to trust him in with my deepest pain and shame. But then to see Jesus there was so powerful in healing my traumatized heart.
Mhm. Can you speak more on how one can use their faith in Jesus to heal trauma? 'Cause when I hear you say that, I think, didn't Jesus descend below all things so that he can raise us up above all things? Like, it wasn't that the whole purpose of his ultimate and infinite sacrifice for us? It is to heal the brokenhearted, to liberate the captive.
Mhm.
It's to set us free, but on his time schedule, of course, we can't demand it. He's not a vending machine where you hit the button and demand it now. But there is this aspect of the this amazing healing power that does come through Jesus.
I mean, Jesus rescued me on the cross, and the gospel rescues me every day as I recite it to myself. And as I'm not like getting saved every day, but it's like I'm remembering him. But in my trauma, like again, I don't know the theological viewpoint of your listeners or what. Like, I'm such a mishmash of like, we're going to a Reformed church, we've been Baptist, non-denom. So just you're going to hear a hodgepodge. Here's the
Uh-huh.
reality. If I didn't know and hadn't experienced Jesus and the Holy Spirit in this sort of IFS listening prayer model, I'd either be dead or not a Christian. So
Mhm.
maybe for some of your listeners, they're like, dude, all I need is like Psalm 91 Band-Aid. I'm awesome. I love it. That's not for me. So in how I experienced him multiple times in different places of pain and shame is I pray. I go to a safe place in my mind
Mhm.
where I can feel safe and at rest with Jesus. And then when I'm ready, or if I'm ready, I go back to the trauma, invite Jesus there, which I know it's not him in bodily form. I know it's just the Holy Spirit. I get it. But I picture Jesus.
Yeah.
And he comes into the space and he doesn't change it in the sense that like the trauma never happened, because that's not real.
Yeah.
But I see where he was in it. And I see that he wasn't. Well, our brain like makes up stories. In order for us to heal, we're always writing the story. We're trying to finish the story of our trauma. And
Right.
so it's not that I'm even rewriting him into it, because he actually was there. It's I'm
Uh-huh.
opening up the eyes of my heart to be aware of, where were you when it felt like you abandoned me?
Uh-huh.
Did you? And in that moment, when you can read about it in the book, like seeing Jesus show up as warrior and rescue me and show me my own strength was so powerful.
And giving you your armor and your sword, I think is how you said it. Yeah.
He
He
gave
empowered you. Uh-huh.
Yes, that I wasn't this weak person who was helpless, which if you're a therapist at any level, you know, you're like, yes, you're giving her back her agency. It's so
Y
important.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's really was powerful for me, not only to do like parts work, if you think about an IFS world, but to really invite the spirit. It takes IFS parts world to like the extreme for me to invite Jesus there. Does that make sense?
Yes, I know what the term IFS is. I don't think our listeners know. Can you give a brief
Yes.
definition of that?
So IFS, so I'm not a mental health therapist. I'm just married to one and I talk to a lot. So I know just enough to make me either
Uh-huh.
helpful or
And
dangerous.
it's a very popular methodology or
Yes.
modality, I should say.
It's a
Uh-huh.
very helpful and popular modality. My friend, Dr. Allison Cook, she has a podcast and a book on it, on the IFS model for Christians, but it's like Inside Out. If you've seen
Uh-huh.
Inside
Yeah,
Out or
the
Inside Out
Pixar
2,
movie.
the
Uh-huh.
Pixar movie, it talks about how we have these different parts inside of us. And often we like love in that movie joy, but we
Uh-huh.
exile or we don't want sadness. And so
Right.
even though life is a mix of emotions, we so often are like, you're my friend emotion, but not this one. And we can do that in our memories too. So with this motto when I say IFS, it's called Internal Family Systems. And it's just like understanding what's going on inside of you. And instead of immediately judging and shaming and telling that sadness inside to just shush,
Uh-huh.
and it's saying, what's going on with you? It's asking it questions, being more curious as opposed to judgy of what's going on
Yeah,
inside.
that's good.
Yeah.
I can see how that's very helpful and healing when that part of you is used to being exiled and not listened to.
Right.
Right. So you in your book talk about core needs, and I don't know if you want to spend a lot of time on this, but if you're a listener and you're like, yeah, there's definitely elements of my marriage that feel impossible at times, help me understand more about finding this, you know, the 5-year-old hurt version of me or whatever, just seeing myself a little better. Are there any like trailheads or clues you can look for to help you kind of or help you understand your spouse better in that situation?
Mm-hmm.
So you can come with more of that open curiosity, like you said, rather than being judgy.
Mm-hmm. Man, what are some trailheads as far as how to care for your spouse's pain and you're feeling like there's just distance? Actually, I mean, as much as I'm going to recommend my own book, I also recommend Dan Allender's new marriage book. I just interviewed him on his marriage book, and one of my sisters is reading it, and his is all about understanding each other's story. And
Okay.
because if you understand your spouse's story, all of those communication tactics, etc., are actually going to flow from that because you're going to
Mhm.
speak more tenderly. But I would just say in the last 5 years with Matt and I, and even in the last year and a half, I give myself a beat or 10 before I react to something that he might do or say. And I think to myself, why is Matt saying that right now? And instead of assuming the worst,
Uh-huh.
assuming it's fruit of his story, and yes, his sinful nature's in there, but just think, where is this coming from in his story? So, Matt, and he'd be okay if he was a part of this, does not naturally give compliments. Like, he has a
Okay.
very hard time being effusive with his words. Now, for the first 12 years of our marriage, I was like, he just doesn't think I'm pretty and
Uh-huh.
doesn't like me and
Uh-huh.
is such an intentional jerk. So
Uh-huh.
that's me assuming the worst. And then I hear and learn more of his story out of just genuine, like, not in a fight time,
Right.
in playful time, or
Yep.
just like asking questions about each other's story. We go on a lot of walks and talk. And I understand more and more as I ask him about what was it like with your dad? What was it like with your mom? Just how Matt rarely, I might even say never, was asked how he feels about something
Uh-huh.
or almost his opinion about anything. And when he spoke, he always felt very like his words didn't matter.
Uh-huh.
Like one of his parents would always take up all the verbal oxygen in the room. And the
Uh-huh.
other one, if Matt spoke, would just like suck his emotions out of him. So he
Gotcha.
learned to be very quiet. So now when I notice, like, and I do offer feedback, hey, Matt, it would be really meaningful to me as someone who appreciates words to hear your words. Like, I've said that
Yeah.
hundreds of times. It does hurt me. I say it in a more respectful way, but the communication is tender. But Matt, at the same time, I recognize that this is
It's
not easy for
undeveloped.
you. It's so young inside of him.
Mhm. Yep.
It's a piece of him that's like, yeah, like a 2-year-old is his words are still quiet in there.
Uh-huh.
Because I know his story and we talk about it. Yes, in therapy we did, but and just on walks. What was it like to be you? I asked him, this is new. Matt, what was learning about puberty like for you? And
Uh-huh.
we never talked about that. I just wrote a book on how to talk about puberty. He's like, oh, no one ever talked to me about it. I was like, what? So how much more grace do I have when we're trying to equip our kids about puberty and he's like a robot because he was never taught? It's
Yeah. Yeah,
these are the
yeah.
trailheads. Is what was it like to be you in this situation?
That is so good. Great. Any other trailheads or any other bits of advice?
We talk a lot in the book about different forms of intimacy, really, like the different gardens. And
Uh-huh.
when we were in our healing journey, like we could be so focused on the specific part of intimacy that is sexual intimacy.
Right, because it's the elephant in the room. It's the obvious thing, right?
And it's where that's the fade to black scene. That's the ultimate
Yes.
intimacy. And
Yep. It's also the source of a lot of hurt at that point in your
that's
marriage.
right.
Yeah.
A
Hmm.
source of a lot of hurt.
Yep.
So it was really helpful. And it's helpful now to think about how else can we relate and share intimacy?
Uh-huh.
That can be play, that can be non-sexual touch, that can be economic connection, like, or
Uh-huh.
work. It can be with the kids, it can be with working out together, like physically caring for our bodies. There's a lot of sweet intimacy you can have, and I think the more you can laugh together,
Uh-huh.
the better all the other parts of your marriage go. And so even as we start naming these, like, parts in each other that are like, yes, this is a hard point where we keep coming back to the same situation with words or something like that. Or
Uh-huh.
if you have laughter and can laugh at yourself and can laugh with your spouse about things, it's just go for that.
Yep. It's
Aim
very
for
healing.
that
Uh-huh.
more than almost any other. Like, aim for a sweet joy between each other. It will benefit you a
Mhm.
lot of places.
That's great. Good. I love that. Love that. I want to switch gears for the last part of our time together. What can we do better as Christians or Christian culture towards people that have maybe they're in a mixed orientation marriage or their sexual orientation is different from the majority? How can we love and support those better just in general?
Without question, my top advice is stop raging and making fun of the LGBTQ community.
Hmm.
Stop. You have no idea who is in the room. You think you're in the room in your small group with all straight people? I doubt it. 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 4 Gen Z identify as LGBTQ, and at least 10%, if not 15% of millennials identify as LGBTQ or experience attractions toward the same sex on some level. Do you know how many times I have been hurt and automatically distrust someone to share about what's going on in my own life because they come to small group, they come to church, and they're like, I can't believe the alphabet Nazi communists, blah, blah, blah. They hate everyone and I hate them, and like gasping and sighing. And here I am, not identifying as the LGBTQ mafia, but I experience attractions toward the same sex. I'm actually maybe even hurting in my marriage. And I hear you say that.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to love you. I'm not going to trust you. I am not
Yeah.
going to share with you what's going on in my marriage. And honestly, I really need a safe place to talk about it. So, without question, stop groaning and rolling your eyes and making fun. We can grieve like Jesus in Matthew 23, where he's like, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how I long to gather you together like a mother hen gathers her chick. There's a grief and a longing for a
Uh-huh.
loving relationship. That's a fine heart.
Yes.
Judgmentalism, looking down on and
And
making
division.
fun of, exactly,
Right.
not the heart of Christ. And you are not going to win. You're not going to offer safe places to people like me. And there's a lot of us.
Yeah, that's great advice. We live in a culture, modern American culture is very into division these days,
We
right?
sure
It's
are.
a very much a us versus them.
Yeah.
And it's this culture of division and any language that divides, that's not what we want to do. Like the mother hen, right?
Long
Let's
for
gather.
loving relationship.
Yes.
There can be
This is
grief.
yeah, yeah.
Grief is not scoffing vitriol. It's
No.
grief and
Yes.
longing for intimacy. Oh, I just wish they knew Jesus. What a wonderful heart. Oh, I just
Uh-huh.
want them to know how loved they are and how I can. Wonderful. I'm just so sad about sin in the world. Great. Scoffing, anger, division, vitriol.
Yeah. Good. Great, great. Okay, what's number 2?
So after setting the scene, so those are non-verbal cues. So how can you love people like me? I'll tell you, we're pretty much just like you in mixed
Uh-huh.
orientation marriages. And in fact, some informal surveys I've taken and even some more formal ones that Mark Your House has done, show that we're actually kind of better at like the friendship part of marriage. And we struggle similarly with sexual intimacy. That was the number one issue among mixed orientation marriages and straight marriages. Everybody struggles with it. So there are some unique pieces in that our default attractions are not going to be the same, but there's actually some similar things. And I think when I have talked with mixed orientation marriages and the informal survey I put out, the number one thing we want is just safe places to talk. And the way that you can be a safe place is to both hold our experience as unique in the sense that, like, oh, your sin is actually celebrated in the world. Mine's not. Like, a straight person having an affair probably is not going to be celebrated. But for me to find a wife and become me is going to be celebrated. So that's a uniquely challenging aspect. But at the same time, struggles with sexual intimacy, wrestling with normal marriagey stuff, like that's normal. So it's both normal and there is some unique pain, just like you have unique pain because of your story and your unique struggles. So we're just like you.
Yes. That's good. Let's normalize things a bit.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the birthplace of this podcast, Get Your Marriage On. It's every marriage needs help in the sexual domain.
You're right.
And
You're right.
we need good, healthy resources. We need inspiration. We need tools. We need also just the pat on the back. Hey, it's great. You'll figure it out. We'll work through this. And there's so much joy to be had on the other side. Let's work through it.
That's so good. That's so good. I'm so glad you're doing that.
What about parents that have children that have different sexual attractions than the norm?
I mean, there's so many books.
Or how to treat other families whose children are that way.
Yep. So again, it's both, there's unique challenges and then there's the same challenges. So the unique is this is a struggle and an experience that is celebrated in the world. That's hard. Like a kid who is snorting crack off of cars isn't usually celebrated. But so there's a unique aspect, but then there's the same aspect in the sense that if this child is not following Jesus with their version of sexuality, so I'm someone who experienced attraction to same sex, I'm following Jesus. Hopefully I'm not like my parents' prayer request all the time. Like I hope they're like, oh my gosh, look at God using Laurie's weakness, right? So you might be a parent like that, where you're like, look at God using my kid. But if I was not following Jesus, that probably would be a big prayer request for my parents. But so I would want them to see it as uniquely painful, but also the same in the sense that if I wasn't following Jesus, I'd be a prodigal like every other kid, like many other prodigals. So in need of Jesus. And I think that can be a unique pain in this space is we can just see like sexual sin as the top issue in this kid's life. And I'll tell you what, I have walked with hundreds of LGBTQ, same-sex attracted, gender non-conforming people at this point. My husband, Matt, probably thousands, because he's a licensed mental health therapist who specializes in this space. And I tell you what, God's order of operations for people is not usually our order of operations. All we see is sexual sin, gender issues. Look at what they're wearing. Look at who they're dating. Oh my gosh, they're poly. Oh my gosh, they identify as this. And God sees parent wound. God sees the need to belong first. It's the whole, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, the parentheses, exponents. We have an order of operations in math. God has an order of operations that he wants to work with them. So if I was a friend of a parent whose kids were identifying as LGBTQ and not following Jesus, or my kids were not following Jesus, I would be, this is my controlling mom clause.
Okay, I see. You're holding up your hands like claws.
Like
all right.
claws. I'd be begging the Lord, Jesus, take my hands off of them. I surrender to you. Lord, help me. How do you want me to reach out to them today? When I'd walk with people, I'd be like, I need to send them 92 verses today and tell them blah, 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 blah. And the Holy Spirit would be like, or just send them a meme. Send them a joke. And I was like,
or just love them.
Just love them right now where they are. Like, just with your mouth, Laurie. My goodness, chill. But it was a whole relationship that the Lord was building, and in order to do his timing and will and work in them. And so he cares more about these kids than you do, mom and dad. He cares more about your friends' kids, and he is at work at every minute of the day.
Yes, I agree with that. And perhaps one thing I admire about you, Laurie, is of all your identities, you're a mother, you run a ministry, you're a business owner, you're an author, you're a same-sex attracted person by natural, that's your natural orientation.
Mhm.
You choose what order you're going to put your identities, and you've
Yes.
put, I'm a disciple of Christ first. And the world wants us to change the order of those things. And
So
if we
good.
can just remember what matters the most here, let's put our identity. I am a child of God. I'm a disciple of Christ. I've made promises and covenants to God. Those come first. And
Yes.
everything else is secondary to that. I think that helps too. It's what
Yes.
are you going to prioritize as your identity?
I love that. Because even the world would be like, well, mom should be first. I mean, God, wink, wink, but mom. And then I'm like, we're God.
Uh-huh. Right, right. Yeah, yeah. Very good. This has been such a great discussion. Where
Mhm.
can people go to learn more about your work, your
Yeah.
and all the good things you're doing?
Oh, I'm so glad. You can go to lauriekrieg.com, LAURIEKRIEG, or follow me on Instagram. Or I also work for the Center for Faith, Sexuality, and Gender. You can go to centerforfaith.com. We've got a ton of stuff coming out there. We have a parenting video series coming out in September. We have a book coming out in January with InterVarsity. I just want to help and resource people with what I got before I see Jesus someday. So happy to share.
Very good. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If there's anything in here that you've found, hey, I could use some help in this area in my marriage, or I would really like help taking down these walls or navigating these challenges, sometimes bringing in a neutral third party that's a professional that works with marriages all the time can be just the thing you need so that you can see things that you're missing, so that you can be coached on and helped through the growth that's ahead of you, so you can have more faith and more joy and more excitement and fun in your relationship again. Or you might be in a great marriage and you want to take things to the next level and go even deeper and explore what your full potential is as a couple. Either way, I invite you to check out getyourmarriageon.com. I have a link in the corner that says free training where I talk about this very topic. So don't hesitate, go to getyourmarriageon.com. Meanwhile, please share this podcast with your married friends. I promise they will thank you for life. And now it's your turn to go get your marriage on. Talk to you next week.